UFC Fight Night in Shanghai has just taken place. We thank God because it was an early card, so we don't have to deprive ourselves of sleep. It was a very good card, and to be honest, let's talk about Lon. I know I'm not saying it right. Um, Lorna Lorna Kavanagh versus Charles Johnson versus Lorna Kavanagh. And prior to this fight, I did some research and I did see that Charles Johnson obviously had finished Joshua Van. And when I saw that, I was so shocked because I didn't even know that. And I did think it was going to be a tough fight for Kavanagh. I did feel as if he was going to get a win. I thought it would be a decision. I didn't see him KOing Lorna Kavanagh. It's a shame because I didn't see Lorna Kavanagh KOing Charles Johnson. I did think Kavanagh would get a decision win. And it's a shame because Lorna actually started the fight very well. He was putting it on Charles Johnson. He was winning the fight. And even when he went back to his corner said, listen, hands up. You need to respect what's coming back. Because at the end of the day, Charles Johnson is a game fighter. He seems to be the kryptonite for these up and coming young fighters. He's never been knocked out. So, as much as he's got losses on his records, he is a hard guy to finish. And so we went into the second round. Kavanagh won the first round. Going into the second round, Kavanagh did look like he was slowing down, and I feel like that's because Charles Johnson was starting to mix in the wrestling as well. Even though he didn't get all of the takedowns, Kavanagh had to work to stay on his feet. And Kavanagh did have his hands quite low, and he entered the pocket, tried to land some shots, and on the return, he didn't bring his hands back up to his face and ended up getting caught, which is a shame because I know when him and his team watch that back, they're going to be very disappointed. Obviously, they train at GB Top Team, and I know a lot of people that train at that gym. I still haven't managed to get down there myself. I will do one day because they got serious guys in there. They've got a few UFC, I don't know if it's a few, but I know there's at least one or two UFC fighters that they have there. They have a very decent, not even decent, they have a very, very good level of fighters out of that gym. They've even got the up and coming Chanel Dyer, who is fighting on Dana White's Contender Series in September. And if you guys follow GB Top Team, their Instagram, and people that train at that gym, they take their preparation very well, and they train hard and very well. The head coach is Brad Pickett, as you guys would know, former UFC fighter. So I know Kavanagh watching that back will be disappointed. Listen, you can get caught. It's a fight. A fight is always 50-50. But when he watches that specific sequence back, I know he will be upset. Most people would be upset because really and truly you got KO'd, not actually because of of course it's because of the other guy because he landed the shot, but you let yourself down essentially by not returning your hands after throwing the shots. And it's important, man. This is why we got to drill these things. And even when you get tired, this is why training and sparring is so important, because when you drill these sort of things, when it comes to fight time, you do these things with ease. So I just feel like in training, people need to start implementing in the later rounds when you're getting tired, bringing your hand. It is tough. When you're tired, I can't lie, guys, it is tough to keep your hands up. But, shouts out to Kavanagh. I still think there's big things to come for him. I was honestly shocked with that result. And, guys, it's good I didn't bet because I was actually going to bet today. And, it's like God didn't want me to. So I didn't. Yeah, and I didn't lose any money today. Shouts out to the guy. I'm not going to mention his name, but shouts out to my guy. We was talking on Insta this morning. He took L's today. Let's just say that he didn't win any bet, and he put quite a few down. He did a parlay as well that effed up. So but shouts out to my man. Shouts out to Lonya, Kavanagh, and GB Top Team. I know Kavanagh will be back and better. To be honest, I really like what I've seen from him. And, I hope he comes back bigger and better. So shouts out to Kavanagh. Hopefully one day we get to meet and train. To be honest, I don't think that's going to be too hard to get done because he's from England, trains at GB top team. It's not too far from me. It is a bit of a trek, but it's doable. So, one of these days you guys will see me training with a man like Kavanagh. I'm not really going to talk too much about all of the other fights on the card because it was a bit of a not boring card. It was a good card. It's just some of the fights didn't live up to expectation. Obviously, we had Sergey Pavlovich versus Waldo Cortez Acosta. And to be honest, Pavlovich just picked him apart for 3 rounds. I mean, in the 3rd round, Acosta came out and he was fighting a bit different, He was landing his jab and whatnot, but he just didn't do enough to get the win. And Sergey Pavlovich just did what he had to do, picked him apart. To be honest, I don't think Pavlovich stepped on the gas as much as he would have liked to, because you guys got to remember this is his first return back since losing to Tom Aspinall. So shout out Sergey Pavlovich for getting the decision win. Then we had the co-main event, which was Brian Ortega versus Aljamain Sterling. And Aljamain Sterling did put on a masterclass. He picked Brian Ortega apart for 5 rounds. And to be honest, Brian Ortega just didn't look like he could get up to speed with the fight. Didn't look like he could keep up with the pace. Didn't look like he had any answers. Could that be down to the weight cut? Possibly. It is time for Brian Ortega to move up to lightweight, because clearly he can't make the weight anymore, or he's having issues making the weight, and this isn't the first time. And as you guys look at Aljamain Sterling, he came from bantamweight to featherweight. As you guys know, when you start to get older, you tend not to be able to cut that much weight, and it's not the healthiest for the body. So it is time for Brian Ortega to move up. With that being said, as much as Aljamain Sterling put on a good performance, he called out Alexander Volkanovski. And I will say this. Alex Volkanovski beats Aljamain Sterling because even the way Aljamain Sterling, he wanted to trust his striking in this fight. He wanted to, go out there and test it. And kudos to him because it worked. But against a guy like Alexander Volkanovski, you're going to get beat up. Lerone Murphy will pick you apart. You ain't going to do that to Lerone Murphy or Alexander Volkanovski. And one thing I didn't like about Aljamain Sterling is he had his hands quite low. I guess that's just his fighting style. But me, I do not agree with that. Listen, you're in 4-ounce gloves. It takes 1 shot. And we saw when Brian Ortega landed some decent shots, Aljamain Sterling had to circle, keep his distance. One thing I didn't agree with was I believe it was round 4 when Mark Goddard was like to Aljamain Sterling, you have to engage. You can't just run. Bruv, shut the fuck up. What do you mean I can't just... Bruv, if I'm moving around and my man can't catch me, that's his problem. What do you mean? Oh, you need to... But anyway, shout out to Aljamain Sterling. Good win. But if I'm being completely honest, I do think Lerone Murphy or what's his name? Alexander Volkanovski, I do think both of them beat Aljamain Sterling. I can't lie, if Aaron Pico can, maybe fight someone at the lower end of the top 15, get into the rankings, then maybe get an Aljamain Sterling fight after that. I think Aaron Pico would give Aljamain Sterling problems as well. That's just my personal opinion. And then lastly, sorry guys, I keep looking down because I'm watching Manchester City versus Tottenham. And guys, I'm going to clip this, because I've said numerous amount of times, I'm going to drop this on my other YouTube channel because obviously this is for MMA, but I've said no for a while now. Pep Guardiola will never win a trophy with Manchester City ever again. Mark my words. Never again. Anyway, Johnny Walker versus Zhang Mingyang. I don't think I'm saying it right, but bruv, Zhang Mingyang was putting it on Johnny Walker, man. That Johnny Walker came out, tried to shoot a takedown, got it completely wrong. Zhang obviously did a little bit of ground and pound, wasn't anything too significant. Then boom, they get back to the feet. Zhang is picking Johnny Walker apart. Johnny Walker did not look like he had anything. to answer for what Zhang was bringing. Like, and then the second round came, and then out of nowhere, Johnny Walker lands a low kick, and Zhang is just discombobulated after that. Because once he receives that leg kick, he goes down, and Johnny Walker just swarms on him. And it's crazy because Johnny Walker actually said there's levels to this, and I want to show that there's levels to this. And, you know, essentially he stopped the hype train. And, you know, Zhang has had a lot of fights that finished in the first round. And I do think sometimes, yeah, when you've had so many first round finishes, that can kind of hinder your progress. Because when you have so many first round finishes, some people will get a very big confidence boost. And that might make them, you know, have this idea in their head that, yeah, I can finish anyone in the first round. But the reality is you shouldn't go looking for the knockout, and you shouldn't go hunting for the finish. It should always come naturally. Don't get me wrong. Like, if you see the shot, take the shot by all means. But don't go hunting for it. And, you know, I don't think Zhang really respected what was coming back from Johnny Walker, because Johnny Walker didn't really have an answer, if I'm completely honest. He didn't. So, you know, but shouts out to Johnny Walker. Listen, Johnny Walker is the most unpredictable fight. I can't lie. I was not picking him to win. Honestly, I thought he was going to get finished in the first round. You know, and thank God I did not bet this time around, because I would have been fucking pissed, guys. But, you know, shouts out to Johnny Walker. You know, honestly, guys, it was actually a very decent card. A shame I saw Kavanaugh get finished, because, yeah, where he's from the UK as well, I had very high hopes for him. And to be honest, the ceiling is still high for him. So, you know, shouts out to him. But like and subscribe, guys. Comment below. Make sure you subscribe, guys, please. We slowly are getting the numbers up, but please keep hitting that subscribe button. I see some of you guys have been sharing my stuff in your WhatsApp groups and whatnot. Keep sharing, keep liking, keep subscribing, because trust me, the more you guys help me to build this community, the more I will offer for you guys, and the more stuff I will do for you guys. But it's Big Yems in a bit, guys.